Hello once more. This is part 3 of a 3-part series of albums I got cheap. So I took a chance on some of these. Stanley Jordan on Blue Note. It says it's a digital recording. Great. People were proud to make digital recordings back around 1980 or 81. Magic Touch. What I noticed on this is he did a 7-minute version of Eleanor Rigby, and he also covers Jimi Hendrix's Angel. Randy Meisner. This is a solo album by Randy Meisner, and I have a feeling it's going to be kind of a soft Eagles type album, which may or may not be a good thing. But Randy Meisner does have quite a good history in the music business. Prior to being the bass player of the Eagles, he was a member of Poco, the original bass player in Poco, where he was replaced by Timothy Schmidt. When he left the Eagles, he was replaced by Timothy Schmidt. And before he was in Poco, he was a member of Rick Nelson's Stone Canyon Band. This album was produced by Mike Flickr. And Mike Flickr produced the early Hard albums. And looking at the liner notes to this, Ann and Nancy Wilson both did backup vocals on this album. Polyrock. I like the cover of this one. It looked like a new wave album, which I'll always buy if it's something interesting. I also noticed that they did a cover of the Beatles' Rain, which of course was the flip side to Paperback Writer as a 45. The Fleetwoods, the very best of the Fleetwoods. It's part of that United Artists series of greatest hits, very best. It's only 10 songs on this, but it's nice to get this in vinyl. Madness. This is from 1984 or 1985. It's called Mad Not Mad. I've never seen or heard this record before. But Our House, I think, is it Our House or My House? It was a great song I always liked. And this is a British copy. Premiata Forneria Marconi, Photos of Ghosts. They were an Italian prog band from the early 70s. This is from 1972. It was on the Manticore label, which is also a label that Emerson, Lake and Palmer appeared on. Everly Brothers, Stories We Could Tell. It's an RCA. It's a terrible cover on this album. No wonder, this is just awful. But the music might be good. And I also noticed it's probably from about 1970, and it's produced by Paul Rothchild, who produced The Doors, amongst other people. This is a really cool one. It's Johnny Preston, Come Rock With Me. And Johnny Preston, this is his follow-up album to the Running Bear album. Three Dog Night, American Pastime. This is from 1976. And it is the last real Three Dog Night album on ABC. And I don't think there were any hits from this album. But the completist that I am, I really, really like Three Dog Night, and I didn't have this album. Nice cover, though. Some Americana, Roy Rogers, very retro. This is Leon Russell and Mark Beno, Asylum Choir 2. There were 2 Asylum Choir albums. The first one I have already. I didn't have this one. This is from 1969, and this was released just prior to Leon Russell joining up with Joe Cocker in The Mad Dogs, the Englishmen, and Joe Cocker. Of course, Leon Russell was one of the studio mainstay session musicians in Los Angeles in the mid-1960s. John Foxx, his first solo album. John Foxx was the initial or original singer of Ultravox. I think this is kind of a synth album. Synth pop. I believe he was replaced by Midge Ure in Ultravox. Midge Ure and the Ultravox albums are pretty good. This might be a pretty good album too. Wang Chung, original motion picture soundtrack to Live and Die in L.A. And I always thought that Wang Chung were just kind of a one-hit wonder band with Everybody Wang Chung Tonight, which is a fantastic single. But a friend of mine played me this album last year at his place, and it's a really good album, and I was surprised. So it's nice to get that one. Ambrosia, Life Beyond L.A. This is Ambrosia's third album. It's from the late 70s. The first two Ambrosia albums, especially the first album, it's an essential album to have in any collection. It's a fantastic album, just a wonderful album. And I think they went more in a pop, kind of a pop vein when they joined Warner Brothers. And this is the third album. I bought this one. I know nothing about the music, but I remember when this album came out in 1977. It's on Arista, a band called Baby Grand, and I just love the cover of this. It's a kind of a folk art cover, and I'd never seen this with people in pictures before, where they have an enormous body, like even with the cat and the baby and everything. These people with enormous bodies and just tiny little round heads. And I've seen art with animals where they have like a bull or a cow or a pig or something like that, like a farm animal with just a huge body and a tiny little head, but I've never seen them do it with a person before. So I think this cover itself is just very, very cool. Know nothing about the music though. It's a three-piece band. Arista is not the greatest of labels, really. I mean, it was, you know, they had the Bay City Rollers and stuff like that, but I just love this cover. Thanks for watching.